We'll take questions for Charlie, Mr. Jacobs, or Cam. Please just wait for the wireless microphone to get to you before asking a question. Joe?
Mr. Jacobs, just how would you assess the season?
Oh, I thought the season was successful from where we started. Where we ended, I thought it ended a little short. I think we could have gone another round for sure.
I would agree. I thought we had a very exciting year this year. Some of the younger players stepped up and proved to be good NHL players. So there's a lot of excitement to watch their continued growth. I thought our core veterans that have been here for a while, they embraced the movement, so to speak. And as the season progressed, we just kept finding ways to win. We were down early, came back, won a lot of games. But as Mr. Jacobs said, I think it's a little disappointing at the end that we didn't quite play the way we were playing at a lot of points during the regular season. And I thought that we certainly had an opportunity to get by Tampa, even though Tampa's a great team, and give them a lot of credit. I just didn't think we were playing the way we did play at stretches during the regular season.
Kevin?
Jeremy, given that you've witnessed the whole arc of free agency here for your entire tenure, I'm just curious what your feeling is, especially spending on the high-priced guys. It's been sort of a mixed bag here.
I think your last comment is correct. It's been a real mixed bag. Some have worked, some haven't, and you're betting big on that. I think what we saw this year was success, but from building from within, and which really gives you pause as to whether you do reach out and spend for somebody that perhaps doesn't give you what you anticipated they would. And age plays a role in it, and obviously financial comfort probably plays a role in it. So people that are really working hard to get their position is one thing. Once you get there, do they work quite as hard? These are questions for Cam and for management to decide. But those are tough questions. They're not easy ones because, as they say, you're betting big and you're hoping to buy a team, which I don't think you can do anymore in this league. Everybody's got the same dollars to spend.
Yeah, I think it really depends on where your team's at and what you think you may need and what's available, what the term would end up being, how much the value is. So those are decisions that go into every free agent period. Is like see what's available and look at your own roster. It is a mixed bag, though. You're right. I mean, there's times when you get a guy and he performs and the expectations are what you thought he would. There's times when sometimes it's a tough adjustment for the player, and it doesn't go quite as well as you'd like. But that's why we've really, for the most part, are trying to draft properly and develop properly and grow from within.
James?
Hey, Cam. Last week, Brad Marchand was very contrite with everything that went down, and I guess just your thoughts on that. And then second question is, what would have happened if that happened when you were playing?
Well, different game back then, so you can imagine what would have happened. Obviously, Brad should be contrite. He was spoken to. I don't want to go into the details, but he understands how it would put a negative focus on him, his family, the organization, his teammates, coaching staff. So, the thing that people don't understand, Brad is a really good guy. If you don't know him, you see this other stuff and you don't really think highly of him. And he's a tremendous hockey player. So he's got to the point now where, his game on the ice without the antics should speak for itself.
Cam, getting back to Kevin's question, just what do you think you got from Rick Nash? And he had said that he wants to stay, and Donnie had said that you guys are looking into it. What do you think of that situation?
Well, it was unfortunate he got banged up near the end of the season there, and it really took him a while to get back, and I don't think he was quite himself, and he would say that, he said that during the exit meetings, that he wasn't quite himself, and, you know, it's disappointing because we felt we had a guy that was really going to help our secondary scoring in that line and you know, help with David get going in some offensive situations, and you can see the big body and how he protects the puck and how good he is in the corners and along the walls. But he just wasn't quite himself after coming back from that injury. But as Don mentioned, you know, we're going to look at every UFA that we have and RFA and come to conclusions on whether or not it makes sense for us to move forward with those players.
Cam, Don mentioned, you know, the kind of feeling of disappointment not having Brandon Carlo around for a second playoff series here, and just the way that, you know, Brandon has talked about the team wanting him to be more physical. Just what do you see for him, you know, areas where he can grow and the impact he can make when he gets back? Well,
speaking of the playoffs, if you look at David Pasternak's playoff last year against Ottawa compared to this year, you see the growth in his game in the playoffs, and that's the unfortunate thing about Brandon missing last year and this year. So that development that you get in playoff hockey is really it's something that every player needs to really get to the point where you can become this great playoff player. Brandon realizes that he needs to be a little bit more physical. I think he can put on a little bit of muscle. He's still a young man, but he's a big man and could probably get a little thicker. And that's what I think he's looking to do this offseason. But I think we probably missed him more in the Tampa series than maybe in the Toronto series, just based on, you know, how Tampa was coming at us, and they were on our D pretty quickly, and he gets on pucks really good, and he can make that good first pass, and he skates really well for a big man.
James?
Cam, when Donnie took over, you guys kind of pressed the reset button, so to speak, and wanted to start replenishing the minor league system and your prospects and all that. But I wonder, do you feel like you're ahead of where you thought you'd be right now, or do you feel you're right where you wanted to be? What's your assessment right now?
Well, probably during the year we thought we were a little bit ahead of where we thought we might be, based on how the season went and finishing with 112 points. And again, a credit to the players that already were here, a credit to the coaching staff. You know, right from day one, they knew that we were going to try and implement some younger players, and you know, there's some learning curves along with that, but you have to be willing and ready to coach and teach. And I think that's what our coaching staff did. They did a lot of teaching this year, and I think it showed up on game after game, especially the younger players. Even though at times they did have some dips in their game, and maybe they were sent up to level 9 to watch, but then when they came back, they were, you know, they were re-engaged again. You know, for some players, it's a tough jump. Going from college to pro, it's a lot different. Going from Providence to Boston, where you're playing on the weekends, is a lot different than every other night. So, you know, those are all things that these guys have to learn from. But I think what we've got coming and where we are at now is, you know, where we were hoping to be, and we still have some room to grow here.
Is there balance, you know, when you're looking, say, we're talking free agents there, or you look at trades maybe to bring in another pro-level player, is there a balance of, you know, you don't want to give away what you built, so to speak?
Oh, there's no question there's balance. I mean, we have to make sure that, you know, we're doing right by, you know, how we want to play, where we think guys should be slotted, whether it's on the back end or the forward group. And then, you know, do we have the right balance of, you know, offense and defense as far as can we kill penalties? Can we take the important face off? Can we create some offense, not just on the power play?
Eric?
Charlie, just your general thoughts on the season, especially that blend between the young players and the veteran core that's been in place for quite a while.
Very happy with the 50-win season. You know, we look at October and how we started our year, didn't look all that bright, and things turned quickly for us in November, fantastic December, and into the new year. And I credit our as Cam mentioned, the blend that we have, the young players that stepped up, the number of kids that really participated and contributed to our win-loss total, and again, Butch and his crew really did an excellent job of mentoring these kids and raising their game to be NHL impact players. And speaking to the mix and what looks like for Boston Bruins moving forward, we have a number of kids that we believe, and I hope they prove us to be correct, coming from Providence that will and Europe that will add to our mix and diversity moving forward for next year.
Mike?
Hi, Mr. Jacobs, just to go back for a second, on Brad Marchand, I mean, as the owner, when you saw these incidents, I mean, were you disappointed? I mean, what was your reaction to that?
I saw humor, and then I thought it was, as it went along, it got pretty silly and not productive towards the team. This is a player that I can only think of 30 other teams that would love to have him. So there's a margin you give him, but I think he used up that margin.
And just quick, a little bit off topic, but do you have an opinion, a thought on the Supreme Court decision this week and the legalization of?
Yeah, I think sports betting is very much in the future of U.S. sports. It's been going on around the world. We played in other jurisdictions. By that I mean we do business in Australia, we do it in England, and we see it all the time. And it does bring a degree of interest that doesn't exist here in this country. And the interaction with your client, with your customers, and the team is greater with it. I mean, they're just more interested in it, and so it will. I think it will be a real plus to the sports field, but it has to be managed and controlled, and I think that's where the rub is going to be until they evolve a good relationship between the teams and the gaming interests. It'll be a little rocky between now and then.
Matt?
Mr. Jacobs, this is also a little bit off topic, but just how would you describe Commissioner Bettman and what makes him an effective leader?
Gary, was it 20 or 25 years now, has been there. He's, of all the leagues, I definitely think he is the strongest of the commissioners. You can't outwork him. He just spends an enormous amount of time in the hockey environment, and I'm surprised I can't get away with that with my wife. How he does it is something else, but he does. I think he's the best that we could do. I mean, there are things that might irritate you from time to time about him, but you know where his heart and soul is. He's always interested in the game, the improvement of the game. The expansion has been very eye-opening and revealing, and so I think he's built value for every franchise, and I think he's made this a better product.
Kevin?
I want to follow up on the gambling, but first, Cam, we neglected to ask last week about surgeries. Do you know off the top of your head how many guys are going in, or?
Well, there's still a couple question marks, waiting to see how things develop with a couple players. I believe Noel's having surgery coming up on the 24th. But other than that, there's some guys that are banged up that are, right now, there's still questions. They want to see how they go the next probably month or so before they really make it definitive. But it doesn't sound like they're going to have surgeries other than Noel.
I think that was Bergeron was one.
Yeah, Bergeron, and I know that they Riley Nash. Yeah, we're waiting to hear on Riley.
Okay. And Jeremy, back on the gambling, you've got two silos here. You've got your team interest, obviously, and then your hat as the chairman of the Board of Governors. So can you share anything in terms of what the planning will be here in terms of exactly what you're talking about, the control and the potential rub? What will you be doing from now until the decisions are made in terms of your company, and what will the league be doing in terms of organization and preparation?
First of all, the genesis of it, if you really stop to think of it, came from the tax income that the states would be receiving. They are the ones that have the rights to gaming. It went from a federal prohibition to being it's a state's right. So you've got states will be going back and forth whether they're going to legalize it, and then the rules and regulations around it. And that's where I think we as a league have to step in order to protect what we have, our interests in it. There's going to be, I think, substantial income at some point going to various jurisdictions, be it from the tax from a tax standpoint, from compensation to the various teams that are playing for it, and the gamers, as we call it, or the people that are producing the games. And each will be fighting for their part of that, or negotiating it. I think there will become a common interest. I think the common interest will run. What I'm hoping for is to see a balance between all the leagues, that they get treated equally, and that you protect your game so that it doesn't get abused by the gaming public. But the end result is that we should build a greater interest. It'll probably provide more income to the various franchises and to the players. So, but it's going to evolve, and I don't think it's going to be singularly. In other words, I don't think it's going to be that football will have one deal and basketball will have another one, and baseball, and I think it will be collectively the same interests will be carried forward. Hopefully, that's what I'm wishful thinking. Because I've had experience in this from a gaming standpoint and others, I'm cautiously optimistic. Let's put it that way.
Fluto and then Eric.
Charlie, regarding the legalization of betting, how do you think that would manifest in the experience here at the rink and on television in terms of engagement? Like, do you see your customers, your audience, perhaps taking it to a different degree of engagement?
I do. I anticipate there will be a greater level of engagement from the event goer and the casual viewer. Maybe the casual viewer becomes more than a casual viewer. You know, if you think about it, you can game, when I say game, you can wager on a Las Vegas Knights game at the arena now. So, as my father mentioned, this is a state-by-state matter, and I don't know when Massachusetts historically been more cautious about passing their laws. In West Virginia now, you can go and game on just about any professional sport and pay, I think it's a 0.25% excise tax, which is effectively a fee that will go to the leagues for their content. In Las Vegas, you pay that tax and it goes to the federal government. So there's a little bit of unique difference about how you are going to tax and how each state is going to tax their gamers. And as my dad mentioned, that's really something that the leagues are going to have to collectively agree on and move forward. And I think that will greater apply to a nationwide approach to gaming. I do think it really does spell greater interest. There was a lot of talk about when daily fantasy sports came out. DraftKings was all the rage maybe 24 months ago. I think this is an even bigger draw to viewership and to fan engagement moving forward.
Eric.
For Charlie and really all of you, just what's the progress like for the construction out front, and how much are you looking forward to the finished product?
Well, our front door, so to speak, will be open in October. The new Champions Row and the hub on Causeway, although not finished, will be open to the public and to event goers and commuters alike. Almost 2 million square feet of real property will be either under construction or almost finished by then. I personally can't wait. I think it's dramatically changed. Well, frankly, I think it's created a new neighborhood. We're no longer West Enders. We're not part of the North End. I think we're just the hub. And I can't wait for it to, personally can't wait for it to be finished and have the final product. We have a whole team of associates here at the building that are working on what we call a transformational 2020, when all of this will be done. When I say this, I'm referring to all the construction that's happening out front and just exactly what that looks like. We aspire to have the best in-arena experience in both the NBA and National Hockey League.
Matt?
Mr. Jacobs, you talked about a successful season, and we've heard all about the kids coming and all this stuff that's going to be great next year. So how does your enthusiasm and your anticipation of this summer and looking to head to next year compare to maybe the past 40 summers?
Out of my 43 years, there's only one that I was really happy with, and that was 11. So but hope springs eternal, obviously. I think the building from within and the speed that we're seeing in the game has changed, and I think this next generation bodes well for us. Butch and Don and Cam have recognized this next generation, and I think we profited from it this year, and I think we should improve on it next year. But not everybody's myopic in the league, as I wish they were, and they see the same handwriting. Some will move faster than others. I think we're further in that line right now. I'm really hopeful that next year is an improvement on this year.
Joe?
Mr. Jacobs, when you see what Vegas is doing both on and off the ice, what do you think of their success?
It's unbelievable. I've never seen anything like it. I didn't expect anybody to ever predict this to happen. I think they're motivated, and they're a terrific team. They're fast. And as I keep saying, although I am contradicted on one or two cases, but clearly there's nobody's top six in that group. Everybody protected their best players, quote unquote, and they did it with everybody else's not top six players. So there's a number of those players that have gone well beyond what the experts thought they could do. I'm really impressed.
From an expansion standpoint, what do you think next? Seattle, Quebec, Houston?
I think that it probably adds more value to being an expansion team than it has historically been. What they've done, nobody else has ever done before. This is one of a kind. I don't know if it'll happen again, but it sure gives hope to the Seattles of the world.
James?
Mr. Jacobs, going back to we were discussing free agency and that, is there any changes in expectations of the salary cap for next season, or everything still looks status quo?
Everybody's going to be working with the same dollars, and how much you want to, it'll be up to Cam and the extra. I mean, you really have to know this game in order to make those kind of predictions, and I put myself in the other part. I don't know this game like they do. They spend all their time on it, and if they do good, I'll take pride in it, and if they fail, I'll say they did a bad job. Nothing's changed.
Is there a number, though, that's out there that's definite league-wide?
Oh, it's we have a range. It's high 70s or low 80s. Isn't that fair to say?
Yeah, nothing's
Cam?
set yet, but they gave a ballpark.
No.
Yeah. So.
Anything else? Oh, Steve?
Cam, how do you feel about your overall makeup on your blue line, specifically on the left side with the two smaller guys behind Z?
Well, I think, first of all, the way Grizzly came in, I was really impressed with how he played. He added an element on our back end that we didn't necessarily have as far as puck retrieval, making a good first pass. One of the concerns I had from day one was both having Torrey and Grizzly on the left side there. Obviously, with Z, big body, those two guys a little smaller. But having said that, Torrey does an extremely good job for us, especially on the power play. We'd like to see him move a little bit quicker if we can, 5-on-5. That's an area of improvement for Torrey. As far as size goes, would it be nice to have a little bigger on the left side other than Z? Yes. So that's something I think Don is going to try and work on this offseason. But that's not to take away from what the guys did for us that played on the left side this year. I thought they played very well for us.
So this is for any of you guys. Some said before the season that you guys were sort of the fourth team in town. After the season you guys had that was pretty good, how do you feel you guys stand among the other four teams as of right now?
Well, you got the Celtics, and good on them. They're having a great postseason. They're playing extremely well, and the Pats obviously had a successful season last year. The Red Sox are just getting into it. So, the thing for me is I know we've got a very hardcore fan base, and they're very passionate about the Bruins, very passionate about hockey, and I think we added more of those fans to our sport this year. I thought the way we played was very exciting. Our home record was as good as it's been in a long, long time. It's not for me to really say where we stand among the four teams. What we're trying to do is be the best that we can be in our league. And, that's our goal every year, is to be the best that we can be in the NHL. So, I think we made a lot of strides this year just on the success that we had in the regular season. Obviously not quite doing what we thought we could do in the postseason. But I think our style of play has been very exciting. And those are the comments I got all year from our fans, was how exciting it is to watch us play.
Anything else? No? Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys.